My name is Cindy Bennett. I started at the Otis Paper Mill in Chisholm back in 1976, which was kind of interesting. I didn't know if they were going to hire me because I was a woman back then. They had some women before, but not a lot of women, so I got hired. And I worked down there 6 months. Then there was a chance to go to the Androscoggin Mill, which was up the road like 2 or 3 miles. And there was a little more of permanent job. You never know if the Otis was going to stay open. So I went up as a cleaner. I cleaned days. Hated it. Hated being a cleaner. It wasn't a bad job. I worked days, which is one of the days, but sweeping up, cleaning after men who were quite messy at times. So I put a bit into what they called flash dryer. That was where they flash dried pulp, made it into stacks, and you had to put it into a railroad car, which wasn't a bad job. But the boss, they sort of set me up a couple times because they wanted to see if I could do certain jobs which the men didn't have to do. So he wanted me to lift this door to put it onto like a station where the dry pulp came down. And it was very hard to do and I couldn't do it. But I said I can do anything a man can do that's my size and my physical capability. So it was sort of a setup. It was kind of interesting. One night, the superintendent came down, I'm not going to say his name, and said, well, we're going to have an opening of what they call stock preparation. Why don't you put in for that job? So I thought about it, and I said, well, I might as well put in for it. That was going up to work on the paper machines and work how they would prep the stock before it went onto the paper machines. And I worked on an incredible crew. One guy I worked with almost brings tears to my eyes because he just passed on. I didn't realize he had died. His name was Timmy Flynn. He was crazy. Oh my God, I adored him. We played hard and we worked hard. Timmy played a couple of jokes on me, but I got him back. One joke that sticks in my mind was they were making canary yellow paper at the time, and I got the nickname they called me Big Bird because I have curly hair and a big ass, which was fine, I don't care. But we had a lot of fun. So Timmy, this one particular day, I was sitting out on my job. Timmy comes out around the corner with canary yellow paper on and a big bird mask like he was flying. But if I could have caught the bastard, I would have choked him. And then another time, Timmy got me another time. I had my lunch basket on the table, and I don't know if this is going to be, it's not racy, but I had my underwear in there. Before I knew it, Timmy took my underwear out, ran. He was a big man, like 300 pounds, but boy, he was fast. Took my underwear out, put it up on the crane in between the two paper machines so everybody could see it. I said, okay, you want to play? I went down to the men's locker room, cut his lock with wire cutters, got his underwear and put it up on the crane. Oh, he was mad. I said, I'm going to get you. Then another time, the same guy, I hid under what they call the head box area with a water hose. I waited an hour for him to come out. He came out, and I got him wet. He was so mad he threw his can of Coke at me. But I loved him dearly. And they treated me well. On that particular shift I worked, they treated me well because I was good at my job. I could do the stock prep job very good. Then I had a chance to go into the storeroom, which was going to be a 7 to 3, 40 hours, no shift work, and I wanted to get a day job. So I took the job in the storeroom. I took that in 1986. 1987, I went out on strike. I was on strike for 3 years. And in 1990, I had a chance to go back on my job, and I thought, I had to write I worked for my union while I was out on strike, and I love my union. It's just things didn't work out good, so I went back after the strike. I went back into the storeroom, and I had that job. But I worked with, I don't know if this is going to be right, but there were some scabs that didn't like me. And they would say, oh, she did this, she said that, she didn't treat me nice, she said this. So I got turned in many times to the boss, but I never got fired. And then 10 years before I retired, I had a chance to go into what they call motor storage. And I knew that was a setup because they thought I would fail. I went down to an office by myself, took care of electrical motors, worked with a lot of millwrights and I&E people, inventoried motors, Took care of them, got them ready for vendors. Was very good at what I did. I worked hard at it, and I was good. At the time in 1976, I needed a job, and I thought it was only right that they should hire women. I was in the process. I had talked to Maine Human Rights. I was going to file a complaint if they didn't hire me, but they did hire me. So at the time, I knew I could do the job. There were a couple of other women. There was a lady who'd been there quite a while, Mrs. Castongi, was a cleaner down there. She had worked there many years, and before I don't know if it was during wartime, they may have had women as cutters. I think did cutting. And then there was another lady who was hired a couple months after I was. And there were a couple of us down there, not a lot. When I worked out at the Otis, I wrapped rolls by hand, which was quite a job. The big paper rolls were like 50-inch diameters, and they would come off a belt, and we would push them, and we would crimp the paper with our hands. That was quite a job. But it wasn't a bad job. I used to drive fork truck too. I loved to drive fork truck. And I was good at that. I mean, I wasn't perfect, but I could hold my own very well. When I first started, I felt that I had to prove that I could do the job, and I was good as anybody else. And I did for a while. Then they saw that I was good at what I did. I felt that was gone. But I do sometimes think, because I was very vocal about my union beliefs, and I always believed in my union, and that might have been held against me. But I was always very vocal and stated my opinion on different things, and if I didn't think something was right, I would tell them. My father used to tell me, "Cindy, you don't have to rock the boat all the time." I said, "But Dad, if it's not right, I have to say something." And we used to chuckle about that. My father worked for the telephone company for years. He loved his job. He was good at his job too. But no paper background at all. I needed a job, and it paid good money. And I liked unions. We probably should have done things differently, because at the time of the negotiations, I worked with George Lamberson. I don't know if anybody talked about George Lamberson. George Lamberson was the most incredible international rep that you could ever meet. Back in the early 80s, I met him. He had like 4 teeth and glasses and a crew cut, and he was tough. He was a wonderful man, and I enjoyed working with him. We had always worked internally. We never really signed a contract. At the time it was supposed to be signed. We always negotiated. We would work without a contract. And this one particular time, I decided to go on strike. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I supported my union. And I worked for my union. I worked with Linda Merchant, another wonderful lady. And we went traveling in Massachusetts, but we had such incredible support from local. We had Charlie O'Leary at the time was president of the AFL-CIO, great man. Eddie Gorham, all good union people. Unions aren't perfect, but they're only as good as the people are. And it all depends if the people want to be involved. But we had some good union people. Felix Jakes, area vice president. Felix passed out with Lou Gehrig's disease. Good man, kind man. Him and I argued a few times, but we always respected each other. He's a good union person. Billy Meserve was a decent president. We had some good union people in our local, when we UPIU, Local 14. I loved my union a lot. I just retired. I was fortunate they offered me a good package in 2015, and I took it. It's too bad they've got to diversify and maybe do different types of paper and do different things, but I think it's not like it was when I worked there. The specialty craft people aren't there. We had the paper makers who were incredible, like the back tender, the machine tender, third hand. They worked on that job and they knew their craft, but now they diversify and they go anywhere. But you had people who knew just by the sound of the machine what was going on. By hitting the roll, they could tell you if it was winding correctly or what was wrong with it. Whether people agreed, they were craft people. They knew their trade. And we had millwrights that were incredible and I&E people. But it's a dying industry. And it's too bad. Because towns who have depended on paper mills for taxes or employing people are going. because there's a bigger, I mean, you have chemical people, the wood people, and it's a dying art. We were at the Union Hall, and we had called the strike off because we wanted to save jobs for our people. And I still remember this guy's face, I won't say his name, brought a cake in. He was being a smart ass. Saying, ha ha ha, we won. And I'll never forget his face. And I still remember to this day the first scab that was hired and the first scab that called for the desert vote. When I retired, I saw this guy, he wanted to shake my hand. I said, can't shake your hand, I can't forget what you did to me in my union. Life goes on, I move on. But I used to say, you want a job? Apply for it the way I had to. Don't take somebody's job. Don't cross a picket line, because you're branded for life, in my book. You know, I know who you are, I know who they are. And I see them in town now, and I don't have to talk to them, and I don't. I know everybody has a right to a job, but if they wanted a job, do it like I had to. Don't take somebody's job. And that's my feeling. And thank you, ladies. I mean, it's good to see somebody cares about working class people, because sometimes I think we're dying art and people forget working class people have made the world the way it is.